how do I prevent cane borers in raspberries and blackberries? And this is Gary from Dry Ridge, Kentucky. He is concerned the borers will kill his plants and doesn't want to prune. So Peter, he doesn't want to prune.
Actually, if you're worried about borers, pruning is probably one of the best things you can do with blackberries and raspberries.
Yeah.
So it's the redneck cane borer.
Okay.
Has a 2-year life cycle, which is nice because that means that makes it easier to control if you know what to look for.
Right, right.
So in the early summer, a female will come along, and about 6 inches from the tip of a cane, they will lay an egg. And then they will go and they will girdle the cane above and below where they laid the egg.
Pretty impressive.
So the cane then wilts, and that's how you can see. If you have your stand of blackberries or raspberries and you see a wilted cane in early midsummer, that's probably what's going on. So what happens is the egg hatches after a couple weeks and bores into the cane at that point, in between the girdling. And then it will bore down maybe about an inch, and then it stops for the year. And it overwinters in that location. So once again, if you see that wilting, go in, cut the cane 2 inches below where you can identify where it's been girdled, and you'll be able to see it. Then you've removed the cane borer. It's gone.
It's gone.
Then, anyway, so it overwinters a couple inches below that girdle. Then the next year, that's when it bores down through the entirety of the cane all the way to the crown of the plant. And it will affect the cane. Now, once it gets to the crown of the plant, it will overwinter underground, just under the soil surface, but inside the plant for the next winter, at which time it then pupates. You have an adult, and the process starts over.
Starts all over again.
So, by regular pruning of your blackberries and your raspberries, you can get rid of a lot of this cane borer problem, and it helps. That pretty much solves the problem.
Yes.
And then also scout, and when you see that little wilted bit, just cut it off, and you're good to go.
You see wilting or flagging?
Yeah. So
the issue.
I'm gonna throw this out there.
Throw it out there.
So, with our raspberries and blackberries, we've got primocanes, we've got floricanes, okay? So the floricane, the cane that produces the fruit of that current season, if you are managing those crops the way that we're supposed to, you're gonna be pruning those out anyway, right? And so those cane borers are not identifying primocane versus floricane, right? So you could have some in both, right? So when we're trying to identify like thresholds, like how much is too much? Like when do I need to look at some other kind of control option? And in this case, insecticides are not going to be very effective unless you are an excellent scout. But if you were growing and that was going to be an issue, like the 10%, if 10% of your primocanes, because your primocanes are going to make your fruit for the following season. So you remove all your floricanes, you don't have to worry about those ever making it to the crown because you're removing those canes anyway. So after that, look at what's left. If 10% of your primocanes that are going to be fruit bearing the following year, you can tell that they have those cane borers, that might be a flag for you to be an excellent scout the next year to be able to target an insecticide spray, because the only time we can target them is when they're in their adult female form while they're laying the eggs. And that requires, like I said, very excessive scouting twice per week. And then we really have a very narrow option of insecticides that are super even effective for this. The active ingredient in that product is bifenthrin. So, just going out when you notice it and spraying them with an insecticide is not going to help you. So pruning for sure.
And you think about 10% is a lot.
It is.
Yeah. Another thing is, if you have a lot of wild raspberries or blackberries rather around your area, that may help encourage the population because they're having a chance in the wild to get down to the crown, pupate, and
True.
So if you have some that are nearby that you know about that are out in the woods that nobody cares about, it might be worth it to go out there and destroy those plants, just to reduce the insect pressure on your plants.
Right.
I think that will help
Yes.
prevent the cane borers, right? And something else too that came out of your discussion, right? It is always important to know the life cycle you know, of the insects that we're talking about, right? Because there's a certain time that you can actually target, you know, the insect that's in question, right? Because if you miss, you know, that point, then it's too late.
Yeah, everything you do will do nothing.
Yeah. So it's really important to know the life cycle of those insect pests that are out there.